All right. Okay. So by now, I'm sure the parents are convinced, doctor, that this is an important role, and parents have a critical part in this entire journey. Now, some of the things which, doctor, you notice that the parents have come on their own journey as well from this entire experience, and they themselves feel ashamed to talk about this conversation, really not feel very comfortable talking about sex education with their child. So, we really want to know from you, doctor, what are the tips and tricks? What advice would you give to parents, father, mother? How can they begin feeling comfortable with their own body, with some of the verbiage? What would you say?
That is why first thing that parents will have to do a little lot of homework before they jump into teaching their child. And that can be best done even before the child is born. I always say that. The way I came up with the concept of premarital counseling, I also always say keep planned parenthood is my another favorite term. Planned parenthood. Don't just become parents like an accident. Plan your parenthood. And that doesn't mean only when you want to have your child. Are you ready? Are you ready to become a parent? That doesn't mean only biologically ready. To be ready emotionally, are you ready? Do you know even what it takes to become a responsible parent? Do you even know what is your role? What exactly you want to educate your child with? Are you going to simply accidentally transmit your biases to your children? So that is why it's a very responsible role. So one has to unlearn a lot and work on your own biases. And unless you truly have worked on your own biases and truly become comfortable with the subject, don't even engage into teaching sex education to your own child also.
Doctor, if I have to begin today, like if I have to start, I'm very convinced by this, and I have a 5-year-old son, or a 10-year-old daughter, or a 12-year-old son, and I want to begin. Like, what should I consider doing immediately? What are the one or two things I should definitely start with?
Yeah. See, there are three things which are very important when you want to. First of all, you have to have conviction deep inside you that this is necessary. Unless you are convinced, deeply convinced, you will not be able to do justice to your role as a sex educator to your own child. So first part is that you have to be truly and deeply convinced. That's one. Second thing, you have to have a comfort level, or you are convinced but you are not comfortable. And your discomfort is going to get displayed in your body language, in your expressions. You don't make eye contact, you're squirming again and again, you're feeling nervous. The child is learning from your body language. When my dad teaches me maths, he's comfortable. When my dad teaches me physics, he's comfortable. But the moment he starts talking about sexuality, why is he so fidgety? Why is he so uncomfortable? Why he can't make an eye contact with me? I'm his son. And why he looks so nervous? So in a way, child is learning this. Oh, with this topic, there is something weird. There is something that even my father is uncomfortable with. So don't get into doing that unless you have developed the comfort level. So developing a comfort level is important. How will that come? See, we become comfortable with anything and everything more and more you delve into it. Why I wrote books and why I wrote articles. Okay, you are new to this. Now you are suddenly now when your child is only 5-year-old and you are now convinced after seeing this episode that I need to. You can't go back to become pre-parenthood and all that kind of. So you have to prepare yourself now. That is why my books are designed. My books literally prepares you when you read about it. You start becoming, oh, this subject can be understood simply. I don't have to be fearful of it. Oh, this terminology can be used like any other scientific terminology. And as you go into it, you read more about it. The first stage is to first get the scientific knowledge yourself from the correct sources. And the correct source would be something like book or see a program like this that we are talking just now. Watch this program wherever you can, and you will develop the comfort level. You will see that these two people, Mr. Rahul and Dr. Bhosle, can talk on this subject so simply. Why can't I talk? So first get comfortable by increasing the scientific knowledge. Secondly, what you could do is that your immediate partner is your wife, your intimate partner. So have discussions with your wife and get comfortable with the terminology. Learn the scientific terminology. Use the correct language so that you're awkward because you have only learned the street language and slangs. You never knew scientific words yourself. I wonder many people hesitate to even use the word penis and vagina and vulva. But they are so embarrassed with these words. I say, why are you embarrassed? If you use a street word or a slang, which is not the scientific word, you should be embarrassed. But they use without any hesitation. The scientific word, so get comfortable with the language within yourself, read about it, listen to people who are talking so comfortably about it the way we are talking, talk to each other about it, so that you will develop, I was very uncomfortable earlier, now I am comfortable. And then it will be easier for your child to talk to your child. So it doesn't happen overnight. You have to work on it. You have to unlearn your balances and then get comfortable with it. And that is why reading books, listening to good videos, listening to the lectures of experts, learn from their comfort level. And then once you are comfortable, of course, gather scientific knowledge and then become a sex educator even to your own child.
Yeah, very, very important point, Doctor. I think, how can I become a sex educator for my own child? And I love the point which you mentioned on being comfortable with your own spouse. So that really helps. Can I use some verbiage and practice sometimes is what.
Absolutely.
That'll be nice. And I think you brought another key point, which was very important. You said that be comfortable with the scientific words.
Yes.
And we are not comfortable with the words like penis. So, are there like some of the words which are like very important? Because today with the hypersexuality of media, there's so many things happening, and kids use some of these words which embarrasses us as parents as well, because we're not comfortable listening to those words. Would you, if you have to give us like 8-10 words which the parents should feel comfortable speaking about, or with that verbiage itself, would you call out anything like you said?
Yeah, see, basically the scientific names to your private parts, you have to be comfortable with those words. You can't use a slang the way you call nose a nose. Like that, you have to say penis. What's the problem with that? Or testicles, or more scientifically scrotal sacs, because it becomes too scientific a name, but you can very well call it like testicles, or vagina, or vulva, or breasts, or intercourse. These are basic words rather than child using some different word for something like intercourse. It's better to use the word intercourse. It's a scientific word. It exactly explains what it is.
Doctor, we've also heard
or sexual intimacy, or these kind of words are very comfortably can be used.
And I've heard a lot of words also, like you mentioned in some various occasions, like words like masturbation, wet dreams, kissing. I mean, these become very common, and I think if the moment you use it, it kind of feels different. You also call these.
Of course, see, use the word masturbation rather than saying shagging or shaking off. But that's a more colloquial way of talking. Not a very decent, you can say, but you can say masturbation. What's a normal word? What's wrong with that? What other word will you use? This is the correct way of, on the scientific word for a process when a person pleasures oneself, sexual pleasure oneself, is masturbation. That's perfectly normal word. And why should you hesitate to use that? Only because you have not done something earlier, you have not used this word earlier, you tend to hesitate. That is why I'm saying, to develop the comfort level, you have to expose yourself to the scientific terminology and see, for example, when we are talking just now and someone who is watching this program says, how easily they use the word masturbation and it didn't even sound vulgar. Why am I hesitating? We are learning. I remember when I learned in a vernacular language schooling, and our English teacher used to tell us, if you really want to know good English, watch English news. And that will improve your English because their pronunciation is correct. And they use a correct language. Their grammar is always correct because they're actually reading on a teleprompter. They're not spontaneously talking. And it makes a lot of sense how it changed, because you are seeing the best. Where grammatically it is correct, pronunciations are correct, the sentence formation is so correct, the emotions involved while reporting a news is also correct. They're not getting excited about it. They're not suddenly feeling sad even if they are reporting anything about someone's death, or they are talking about some riots happening, something. The composure that they show in reading is a wonderful thing to learn. Of course, nowadays, if you see news with people screaming and shouting in those debates, Those are the current day scene. But in our days, when we were growing, the news reading was something beautiful process. Besides that, you learn about current events. You could learn so much about a language, how it can be presented. So that's how when people watch even this program that we are having talk, and they see how easily they are talking on this subject, how comfortably they are using this subject, these words like masturbation and all that. Even I can use it, and you use it few times and you get comfortable.
That's the point. I think use it future, like just like having a general topic on any other conversation. This can be a conversation like that, because I think in one of your book, in your book, you've written how these get transmitted, because their non-verbal message gets passed on to their to the kids as well, and that's very strong.
Absolutely. Because children learn the verbal language much later. They have learned the observation language first. The way I said even earlier, then when we use the word mother tongue, but no mother teaches mother tongue formally. Child is simply observing mother, observing father. So observation comes first and the language comes later on. Through observation, language is learned. So verbal language comes much later on. And children are far more observant because that doesn't require any prior education. Here his child is born and he starts observing around. He's looking around shapes, colors, sizes, people. He doesn't know the meaning of anything. He doesn't even know difference between a living being and non-living being. He looks at the fan and smiles. He doesn't even know that this is just a gadget. So child is more observant and his observational capabilities are far more stronger than the verbal capabilities. So when a parent is making sense verbally, but his body language shows that he's very uncomfortable, he's very anxious, he's very nervous, child is going to pick up that more than your verbal language. That is why being comfortable is very, very important.
Very, very good point. And I want to just therefore go deeper into the classification which you have done in your book, 5 to 7 years, if we begin there, Doctor. I think we talked a little bit about the newborn and how the parent has to think and be comfortable and manage their own biases. But if you look at 5 to 7 years, I think you've talked about that gender consciousness comes in, a boy or a girl. So what kind of conversation parents needs to have at this age, where children actually pick up random words and ask questions suddenly at this age particularly.
See, now you have suddenly jumped to age 5 to 8. But what happens before that is equally important. And that is one stage of development. I divide it in from birth till the age 2. I call it as a age of self-exploration. What is the meaning of self-exploration? Because child is just born. And we are all born, all our instincts, everyone's instincts are born out of one instinct, that is survival instinct. So the moment child is born, not only human child, any species child is born, immediately what he's bothered about is that I want to survive. And I want to survive in this world around me. I don't know anything about this world. I don't know even anything about my own body. I don't even know how many body parts I have and what are their functions. So I must start first exploring, so that unless I explore about my body, about my surrounding, I will not be able to know how to survive myself. Out of his survival instinct, the child from the child is born till the age of almost 2 years is completed, I call it the age of self-exploration, where in a process of exploring himself, he's also exploring his private parts, the sensations of it, and the biases of others about it. So that's that age. Then from the age of 3 to 5 is the age of curiosity. They are curious about everything around them. They will ask 100 questions. They learn their language also. The maximum vocabulary we pick up from the age of 3 to 5. That is age of curiosity. And their curiosity about sexuality, about the difference between the various private parts also comes from the curiosity in various words that they are learning. And then from the age of 5 to 8 that we were just now talking is an age of sexual self-awareness, or they become what we call as aware of their gender. They become self-conscious of their sexual gender, sexual self-consciousness, what we call. They become conscious of the fact that there is a difference between male and a female, boy and a girl. they become first time aware about their boyness and their girlness. That is the age between 5 and 8. And that's the time invariably what they were behaving earlier and what they start behaving now changes. For example, earlier if the children were playing a game, house they are playing, boy could very well do a role of wife, and he will not even find it weird because he's not become self-conscious of his gender. But the moment he's between 5 and 8, he's very conscious of him being a boy. The girl is very conscious of her being a girl. So they are very conscious of the fact that about their gender. So their games become gender specific. The roles in their games become gender specific. They also become very clubby. The boys will play boys game. Girls will play girly games. And boys who don't want to come across CC or girl like. And then there are two parties. And they also don't like each other. Oh, we don't mix it girls. We don't want girls. We are boys. Our team. So this kind of self-consciousness about their gender-related self-consciousness that is developed between the age of 5 and 8 invariably. And after from the age of 12, we call it as a pre-puberty or pre-adolescent age, when there is a sexual awakening in them. So age of sexual awakening means actual hormones, changes in their body, changes in their emotions start happening. So there is an early awakening of sexuality within them. So we call it the age of sexual awakening. And then, of course, after 12, they are proper adolescent, you can say, where there is a rapid sexual development that starts happening in them. And that's the time they actually, by then, they need to know everything about sexuality. Where we can say formally, they can be told about the things which will not instinctively come in them. They have to be taught actively from outside.
Thank you, Doctor, for an amazing conversation once again. So what we covered in this conversation, but how do you get comfortable? And three things, Doctor, you talked about. One is conviction that this education is necessary. Second is about being comfortable using the scientific knowledge. And third is, can I have this conversation with my partner so that I can gain comfort with the most frequently used word? And that's what we said. And also we explored the 4 stages, the stage of explorations, which the child goes through, which is from birth to 2 years, age of exploration, then age of curiosity. Then we looked at the age of sexual awakening, which is 9 to 12 years, and 12 years to adolescent is the rapid sexual development. Now, what kind of questions the child asks in these age groups, and how do you be comfortable answering those questions? Should you answer those questions? Should you delay the question? All that and more we'll talk about in the next episode. So please join us and subscribe this channel so that you will know when the next episode is published. And also share your comments. How are you finding these conversations? Thank you so much. Stay tuned.